Welcome to the regular board meeting of the library trustees on November 12th. The time is 6:03. I'll call to order. I'll invite Jinder to call the roll.
Trustee Ando, Trustee Cortez,
Here.
Trustee Kyle,
Here.
Trustee Lee,
Here.
Chair Vadot.
I'll invite Jinder to explain how the public can participate in this evening's agenda.
Thank you, Trustee Cortez. This meeting will be held in person and is being recorded and streamed live to Zoom at the link on the agenda. You may participate in person to provide public comment. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. You may also submit your comments by email by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting. We are offering closed captioning for this evening's meeting on Zoom. Select the live transcript button on Zoom to enable this feature.
Thank you, Jinder. So agenda item number 1 is to approve the regular meeting minutes of October 8th. Is there anyone are there any questions from trustees to staff? No. Is there anyone here for public comment? Jinder? No. They have to be in person? In person, so
Yeah.
no one is here. So can I please have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of October 8th, 2024?
I move on the meeting.
Okay. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, Jinder, can you call roll, please?
Yes, Trustee Ando, Trustee Cortez,
Aye.
Trustee Kyle,
Aye.
Trustee Lee,
Aye.
Chair Vadot. And then I just wanted to point out that we did skip over the public comment on the agenda, but since we don't have anybody in person there, we're good.
Okay, I did ask if that counted.
Yeah. You asked for this item. Yeah, that's fine. No problem.
Okay, so we are now, oh, so this part I need to say this part, right? The open time for public expression. If anyone was here, the public is welcome to address the library board at this time on matters not on the agenda that are within its jurisdiction. Comments may be no longer than 3 minutes and should be respectful to the community. As we have no public members here, we will move on to the next item, special presentations, number 2, staff presentation by Daniel Abelos.
Yep, so I'll go ahead and share my screen.
This was very mysterious, just staff presentation.
Yeah.
I know.
So I'll just do I'm gonna do a presentation on You want to keep going?
No, it's fine.
Are you sure?
So you literally just started the staff
Yeah.
presentation.
All right, fair. So staff from the library visited or attended the California Library Association annual conference in Pasadena. The theme this year for the conference was balancing act, self-care and shelf-care.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. Alejandra Barrios, Mireya Renteria, Cheryl Ortiz, and myself attended. Our notable sessions that I'll be kind of sharing some information on. Remaining authentic as a leader, embracing empathy, flexibility, joy, and fun as you advance in your career. From outreach to inreach, cultivating relationships with communities, patrons, and staff. Lights, camera, action at your library, supporting content creation at your library. And bienvenidos, intérpretes para actividades bibliotecarias. So it's basically welcome interpreters for library activities. And remaining authentic as a leader. So the doodle is the presenter, Bill Sandwold. His whole presentation were all his doodles, and those are his. And it's the presentation was really kind of helping supervisors and managers pick up on some of the things that could make you kind of a hardened individual at work. Stress. One among our group that went, imposter syndrome was something that really struck with us as a group, and we talked a lot about imposter syndrome, and there was a session that some of our group attended on how that can lead you to become hardened. There was a large segment of the session that focused on empathy to others, but mostly to oneself, and practices on how to do that. Joy and really focusing on remembering why we got into library work. And this is where there was like a lot of audience input on kind of what people are doing at their work, at their jobs that kind of lend joy. And then like the leaving message was really remain authentic and kind.
Can I interrupt for one just
Yeah.
quick like clarification point? Because I was curious about the imposter syndrome. Who were the members? What's their titles again? Just out of,
For who was there?
yeah.
So Bill Samwald is a senior librarian at Carlsbad.
No,
Oh, from Howard?
yeah.
So it
I
was,
was wondering.
yeah. So Alejandra is librarian overseeing pickleweed.
Okay,
Mireya and Cheryl are both library assistants,
okay,
and then me.
okay, got it. Thank you. Nice.
From outreach to inreach, cultivating relationships with communities, patrons, and staff. So Aaron Espinosa was also the coordinator for one of the coordinators for the conference. And his library, it's also an observatory, and that picture's from their observatory,
That's cool.
Rancho Mirage. And his presentation really focused on taking kind of the strengths of your team and the strengths of your library out and doing a lot of outreach and how that really brings value to your library. He gave a lot of strategy and perspective on how to strengthen relationships also within the library with your staff, and a lot of the partnerships that you have with community agencies, how to keep those strong. And then just kind of how those two components relate and really kind of place value in your library, in your community. This one was a great session. Lights, Camera, Action. This one by Ashley Torres from Yolo County Library. They land content creation kits. They've got, I think, 3 different ones, where it's like this one is that home edition, which comes with video capture card, kind of like a storage card, mic, webcam, key light, books. There's some that come with a green screen. There are some that are editing. And the main reason is because anyone can post online. And I think the stats of 30% of 8 to 12-year-olds list YouTuber as a top career choice. And then 54% of Gen Z and millennials want to become social media influencers.
As a
So they're really tapping in to providing access to these career goals.
Like a breakdown of Gen Z and millennial.
And then so they have like some of their kits are also at the library, so you can go and do editing at computer stations at the library. Some of these kits you take home. And like, for example, like that one, like that kit, individual kits, $535. So they were kind of pricing it on how much it's costing them. Then the next one is Bienvenidos. This one is through a grant, Redwood City Library. They acquired a grant to bring in interpreters for every type of program they have to really make sure that their participants are engaging and are active fully in library offered programs and events. They found a need because the majority of their adult staff was monolingual, so they couldn't engage with the adult segment of the population, especially since 38% of the Redwood City residents through a survey identified language as a barrier. So they partnered with community agencies to identify translators and then pay them to do a lot of the translating. They used funds from the grant as well to promote to probably one of the more popular Spanish language radio stations, to garner in or to identify that this service was available so that they can attend programs that otherwise they weren't able to. And then in conclusion, so The first night we were there, there was a library that opened because their main library was going through earthquake retrofitting. So there's this children and teen only library that's open for 5 years. That's part of a school campus and other youth organizations. And they did part of the CLA night track was that they had a tour and programs to see the library. And there we bumped into a lot of people that I knew from Oakland Public, and from Marin County. So it was good to really, introduce like our team to people who are in other jurisdictions serving similar communities. So we were able to share a lot of, strategy, kind of identify problems and then really set the tone for like further, conversations about how to address those things. For me, it was great to talk to other professionals that have more experience and kind of get input on certain things. But I think overall for the group, and we've talked about it, we talked about it during the conference and after the conference, is that it's inspiring, it's re-inspiring. And I haven't shown this to Catherine, but I want one of those.
Is that?
That's an outreach vehicle and it's pretty much a golf cart.
That's why I
And
was
they
like,
add
I'm
the
having a hard
back
time
part to
telling
it.
how sign, what the
Yeah,
sign was.
it's tiny. And it's pretty cool.
We'll buy it for you.
Yeah, I've already like looked at pricing.
A little bookmobile.
So yeah, that's kind of what our experience was at CLA.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sounds great.
Jamie, thank you for giving control back. But yeah, any trustees have comments, questions?
I wonder how many people are attending this event?
Oh, the entire conference?
Yeah.
So that's a good question.
It's
Hundred- it's-
several days.
It's hundreds. This one was Thursday through Saturday. Most of the sessions we went to were standing room only.
Wow.
So they were pretty full. And there was probably about, I would say, 6 to 8 sessions per block of sessions running simultaneously. And it's once a year. They usually rotate between Northern and Southern California, but I think it's been in Pasadena the last couple of years. It was in San Francisco,
The last one I was in
Sacramento.
Sacramento.
Yeah, didn't Henry in his last year here do one of a presentation?
Yeah, we in the past have done a couple presentations, different staff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
so staff are kind of, it kind of varies what's going on, but we have had staff quite actively involved in CLA for a while, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it
So
sounds like.
we'll probably end up doing a session on setting up a pop-up library would be.
Yeah, yes.
What I guess despite some of the statistics that are disheartening to me personally, what was your takeaway from the lights, camera, action? Is that something you think we could implement here?
It could be. So I took feedback. So this one, the lights, camera, action was a session that Mireya attended, and I got feedback from her on it. I didn't attend it personally. But it's definitely something that it's something that's feasible to do. I think part of what we would do is really kind of check in with like our teen librarian and our youth services librarian, young adult librarian. Have that experience to see if this is something that they're hearing is a need.
Cause I would just kind of trying to connect a little bit to some of the other sessions where I know we've talked about the programming, and of course, programming needs to be built back up, across all demographics, but one of the ones that I think we were still sort of falling behind on was the youth and teen programming. And I just wonder if that's just maybe a good way to get teens and youth back in the library.
Yeah, I think something that I would probably ask Mireya is from being in the session, what kind of statistics they presented to her about checkouts and circulation, like is it circulating well?
I'd love to hear more,
Yeah,
if you want,
for
to
sure.
follow up, that'd be, I
And
think.
I just say, I think there's like a whole library of, like a whole move towards library of things, right?
Yeah.
And, there's seed lending libraries and, these kits and tool lending libraries. And I think
What was the
We-
last word you said? What library?
Tool, like tools, seeds,
Oh, see.
kits.
Oh,
they're
oh,
all
like
either-
physical tool.
Oh, yeah, like shovels. I mean, probably not shovels.
They're just
No.
imparting their knowledge.
Tools have like expensive machinery, different things, and you know, I think we need to do some work figuring out, and the space is limited, right?
Yeah.
There's so many cool ideas out there, like, you know, what in our community is really gonna be a need and popular with the space that we have. But I think it's all gonna, yeah,
Yeah.
so that's just, I think there's some work on evaluating like what programs we have and in terms of both like in-person programs as well as our collection. And I think one thing that Daniel and I Daniel found when he was wrapping up the data collection that I think we didn't have when you presented last month was that a lot of the dip was in team, but it was also in virtual.
Mhm.
We had a much more significant drop in virtual participation than in in-person participation. So that was just kind of interesting, and I know we hadn't really drilled down on that
Yeah.
the last time you guys met.
Were any of the other, like, I know, I think like your second slide, it was about like outreach and all that, were there? Is this something that other libraries are seeing across the board, or did you not really talk about that, just gave kind of like ideas on outreach?
This session.
The outreach
Oh, from
session?
the outreach to
Yeah.
inreach.
Yeah,
So the presenter is a branch, kind of like they call it, it's kind of like a director, but in his library, he's called the executive,
Oh.
something. He was pretty much just giving kind of a overview of what he does with his library
oh,
and his staff. And he has a one library system, and it's huge. I think there's 40 something employees
Hmm.
with the observatory itself. And he was just kind of giving examples of creating, for example, like a all staff day, but no obligation, nothing to do with work, just fun. Everything is an activity that day. And just certain examples of what he's done to kind of build his team.
okay.
Is there anything you found is something surprising or unexpected from this conference, just other than what you presented?
Surprising?
Yeah, or like any other trend that you didn't know is happening other parts of.
Not really a trend. I did attend a session that I didn't highlight on here, but it was about It Can Happen Anywhere and about the book bans, and everyone presenting was a former employee at the libraries in Huntington Beach, which is all over the news. So they kind of presented on what they went through and how they protected staff, how they protected the library. But they also gave tips on what to look for to kind of be aware of things happening in your city. And it's be like really aware of who's joining school boards and who's joining all type of these aligned groups and boards.
Guess that goes with, you know, the reading that you have by the godmothers or whatever that with, you know, this spring readers,
Mhm.
that would be the same kind of feel, actually.
Yeah.
Along with social and
And the social media, there's a different social media session on how to promote your services to social media, which a lot of it was kind of opposite of what I kind of thought and where I kind of was like taught, where it's like just post twice a day, every day, and the followers will come. And this one was like, no, just post when you have quality content, and it doesn't matter how often. And so that was pretty interesting.
That's exciting.
Well,
Yeah, nice for all of you
Yeah.
that have the opportunity to go. Yeah, yeah, good conference.
thanks, appreciate it. So, and yeah, there was no public, no one here, no comments submitted or anything like that. All right, moving on to item number 3, selection of the board chair and vice chair for next year. Hey, how are you?
Oh, Doña Marina?
Uh,
Oh, no,
no.
I think they're probably in the, across the street for, police accountability.
¿Para cuál junta?
Oh, sí, de Doña Marina.
Pero,
Marina
¿qué?
Palma? I think probably in the public safety center.
Okay. quizás en el departamento de seguridad acá, cruzando la calle.
Oh.
Sí. Pero nada más. Sí. ¿Cuál es la organización? Oh. Ya.
I think I said there was someone downstairs that was like looking for public meeting that was over. So.
Yeah, she's like. Yeah, someone else came up here.
Okay.
I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they get the nice juicy part, the selecting the chair.
Yeah.
They're gonna object to our choice of chair and vice chair. All right. So,
So the selection, I have a question, the selection of board chair and vice chair, it says it goes by how long a person has been on the committee,
yeah, I think, well, same thing would,
but I don't know how long everybody's been.
I think Larry would be, I think we'd probably put Larry up the chair.
And I
Yeah,
checked in with him. Say he's fine,
Okay.
unless someone else is interested, we can say he's fine.
And then I don't know who next would be for, I know if someone's been on not for
Chair.
under a year.
Are you?
I've done it like
You've
10
done it.
times, like, yes.
yeah, so it goes by time, by kind of tenure on the committee. Since Larry is vice chair, he would be, typically would recommend him as chair. And then you both were appointed at the same time.
Oh, same time. Oh,
So in that case, we go
Age match.
alphabetical by last name,
Oh,
which is also very close. But I believe it's K comes before L,
JK.
Or I mean, it
Yes.
could be a discussion if they, if
or that. but
one of you
yes,
wants.
That's a typical rotation, but you
I
all
see.
can decide to go in a different direction if you chose.
I mean,
I'm happy to fill in and be vice chair.
cool. Well, I'll,
Feels like a newbie, but.
I'll move to appoint Larry Andow as chair and trustee Kyle as vice chair for the 2025 year.
Yeah, I'll second.
Ginger, can you call a roll call vote, please?
All right, trustee Ando, trustee Cortez, trustee Kyle,
Do I vote? Aye.
Yeah, you can vote. You can vote for
You
yourself.
can vote for yourself.
trustee Lee,
I,
chair Vidot,
Aye. I'm loath to relinquish power.
I was gonna say, I felt like you didn't have it that long.
I think it was actually 2 years.
Actually, a year and a half.
Year and a half is I filled in.
Cheryl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's I've said on.
Years are going.
I know.
It's gone to my head.
It's my last term. My term is like.
Yours was in 20
No, no, I don't
December.
mean that. I mean, I think next year is like my term ends,
Oh.
right?
I think you and I are on the same year.
No, my term, I've already, like, you're only supposed to be on.
Two terms?
There's always exceptions. Can be
Oh. You create new bylaws.
It's gonna name.
Term limits.
Yeah, right. So, a certain somebody might want that to happen at a national level.
Members, they just continue.
Well, so the
Very
city implemented term limits in about 2018. So prior to that, there had been no term limits on boards and commissions, so we did have. Very, very long-standing members. I don't know about the library board, cause I wasn't, but and the Park and Rec Commission. Was right about the time I started working with the city was when it got implemented, and I know we had some folks on there that's been on there for 30 plus years.
Oh,
We're just gonna name a new library after you.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Oh, Jamie, next.
And my term's up next year.
Next October.
It was October. I thought it was April. Okay.
Sorry, nope. That's till October. And that your first term is.
That's my
over.
first term. So, then I have to like reapply, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see. All right, number 4, reviewing the proposed schedule for 2025, the meeting schedule. Is on the back page of the agenda. I'll note that, like it says here, April 8th is during spring break. Also, November 11th is technically Veterans Day.
Okay.
So I would propose shifting both April and November to the following Tuesday. The 15th and the 18th respectively, but that'd be my only two quibbles.
Are you closed on the
We're
11th?
supposed to be out observe on a Monday, I
Okay.
believe. No, do we?
No,
No.
Veterans Day is always the day.
Veterans always the day.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
yep, so that's a good catch. So we will not be open.
Mhm.
So we should definitely change that one.
So you're saying the 8th to the 15th
Mm-hmm.
is the
For April.
request tax day?
Oh,
Okay.
it's tax day. You, yeah. Any, what is it, a retired account?
I think the other question, so we've gone back and forth whether we go dark in July or August. This year, you all chose July, but that's another conversation if you have a preference between those.
Of July is my preference.
I like the way we did it.
Yeah, same.
Off July and
December.
Yeah.
We have the party in December.
So are we changing November?
So
That would be my proposal to do April
Yeah.
15th and November 18th.
November.
November.
Those are both Tuesdays.
Do you want a motion? Oh, that's your
I've
daughter's
done-
last motion.
Well, I
need to-
would
oh.
say if anyone else has any comments or edits or whatever.
Yeah, I like that.
That works for me.
Support that. Yeah. Change to.
So I will.
Well, Catherine and Dan, is there anything? that
I'm
you guys-
just looking, the 15th, I think. Should be, my only thought, the only thought is if there's any chance that the Monday before was a city council meeting and got is like on a holiday, then it gets pushed, but
Hmm.
I think it should be fine. We probably will wanna, just look and make sure if there's overlap with any other board or commission meetings that might be problematic, but
Okay.
I don't foresee. Although the 18th. What is Thanksgiving? Is the fourth Thursday?
I always thought it was the third, but I think it's the fourth.
fourth.
Tuesday.
Fourth, okay, so that would, it's the week before Thanksgiving, but that should be, I don't see that being a problem.
Um, Then I'll move to adopt the proposed meeting schedule with the two changes, changing the April meeting to April 15th and the November meeting to November 18th.
I will second.
Ginger, could you call vote, please?
Trustee Endo, trustee Cortez,
I,
trustee Kyle,
I,
trustee Lee, chair Vidat.
Aye. Thanks, Ginger. Move on to item number 5, any program updates or reports on meetings, conferences, and or seminars attended by staff?
No, I did.
we went to that.
Is there anything else?
Well, we can just provide general updates on. So the downtown library renovation is happening.
Mhm.
If you all have noticed, there's dumpsters and people in there during the day.
Great.
So far, that's moving forward. I think we're probably looking at a late spring, early summer reopening. Depending on how things, but you know, once they're started, so they're kind of on the clock now. To deliver under a timeline unless they find something, that requires more time.
And then Pickleweed will resume or start right after that, and I think we're in the costing phase of that project. We've got positive feedback from the community on the initial designs.
Great.
And as we mentioned, I think before, we're at the Movies in the Park, a couple meetings there at the Pickleweed Center. Just a couple color
Color and
and
furniture.
furniture
Mhm.
suggestions that we're looking into. So we're thinking summer 2025. That will start.
It's the blue wall room, that's the.
We're relooking at that.
Yeah.
I think we did get quite a bit of feedback that they liked the blue, but all blue was a little too much, so. We are asking the architects to come up with something that isn't quite, is a little bit less dark and overwhelming.
But you're gonna keep the mural, right? Isn't the mural?
I hope so. We're talking about costing right now and that, the cost of that, but I would put that high on the
Yeah.
priority list of things that we'd like to do. So, yeah, I think we should. We'll probably come back and have a more formal presentation on that with this group, maybe like January or February before we release. Where we kind of figure out the process, as we're figuring out the process of how we wanna develop that,
Mhm.
but I think so. Yeah. Then I. Question on pickle
Oh, yeah,
weed
I
or?
know, I'm jumping to different questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously the big question on everyone's mind is Measure P,
Yeah.
so, my understanding is that the. County Office of Registrar is gonna continue to release. Results over the next week to 2 weeks, it is very close,
There's
so I
like
think.
300 votes in it.
Yeah.
About
Yeah.
300 votes at this point, I think after the first release of ballots, it was at about 140.
Yeah, it grew, right?
Then it grew on Friday, per the county's website, they should be releasing another round of data tomorrow.
Okay.
So we'll
So you
see.
just go to the voter registration.
That's what we,
site?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I get my information,
Uh-huh.
That's-
yeah, so hopefully, by your next meeting, we should
Yeah.
have a solid update on whether or not that passed.
That's January.
Yeah, yeah, my understanding is it can take like this particular county some time to count everything and certify. I mean, I have their website up and they said
It's November 12th.
November 20th is the last published date that they will be releasing.
Oh.
And the official results will be published December 3rd.
They have to certify by then.
Yeah.
That's the state law.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but it looks like they're intending to,
I said there's like 46,000 ballots like countywide that they still have to count. So who knows how many.
the number is very low. That the total reporting right now is quite low,
Yeah, they've done like, it's
but-
like 96,000.
so I would imagine there's still a lot to happen.
I think this morning was like at 16,000
Yeah,
counted.
And anything like Measure D or anything like that, as in, or like Library Foundation meetings, because I know.
well, we've not been attending the Library Foundation meetings since they started doing
Ah.
the Citizens Initiative. So I assume we will. Start attending those again.
Okay.
I'm not sure what their plans are for their future, depending on where this
Okay,
ends up. I know they were kind of all in on this initiative and. So, yeah,
is that, and then what about like the Friends and Measure D?
yeah, we're still attending the Friends meeting.
So the friends are kind of looking at a couple different things. They're looking at their bookstore and how it's functioning, storage of their materials. So they're going through a lot of procedural, kind of structural changes. We update them on our programming our programming usage, or what our programming costs are for their funds. And
We've
I
had a
think-
lot of staff turnover lately. The gentleman who's kind of their main bookkeeper, admin person left, so they got a new person doing that. They found someone from one of their volunteers that wanted to take on that position, so I think that was good news. And the person who oversees their bookstore has said she doesn't want to continue in that role anymore, so they're looking at, is Pam gonna take that over? Was it, I think there's some discussion
There's some
about
discussion as to
how
who
they wanna.
are looking for additional volunteers to kind of fill in for some of the shifts.
Well, they're going through some change, but I think overall they're financially doing well.
And, yeah.
and
I
You
think it's
supported your programs.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah, they do. That's great
During the
support.
downtown renovation, is it annex? That they do?
They're still able to access that, yeah. Yeah, we made sure that they had what they needed to continue to operate.
They need to park the car to load the books and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's still there. And then we did actually also attend the voter approved tax oversight committee, which is kind of the new Measure D. So the unaudited financials were presented to them. I believe, do we share those out?
That's when I got injured and I left and I
Oh.
completely forgot to send them out, but I can send you guys the staff report.
Yeah, we'll send out the staff report that has a lot of detail on Measure D spending and for the last fiscal year. And then we'll present again in February, the like fully audited financials.
Will you remind me what the Measure D was?
Measure D is it's the library operational parcel tax.
Okay.
So it's a parcel tax that's solely for library operations, programs, public services.
What year was that?
It is up for renewal next year.
Okay, so it was a couple years ago, then.
7
7 years ago, okay.
right, so great. It was a 9-year term. So, I know, yeah, so I think the city will need to go out for that in spring for the 2026 primary. In order to not have a gap.
That's good.
It should
Hard,
be.
isn't it, to have that and also P and people get that confused in a way?
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. I know that Measure D passed quite with a lot of support last time. I know the last round of elections, there were a number like the MCFL, San Anselmo, and I think maybe one or two other jurisdictions that had their library parcel tax, they all passed. So fingers crossed that same happens for. If people are voting for a facility, hopefully they'll
Vote to staff that.
support the operating it as well.
Well, thank you both, appreciate that.
Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention, so we are wrapped up, outreach on the Terralinda Park and Community Center Enhancement Plans. It's basically a master planning process for Terralinda. And one of the things that did rank very highly in the community engagement process was the idea of a joint library and community center at Terralinda. So I think it's gonna be dependent on funding. The proposal is kind of like a downstairs community center and a second floor library. But that is something that will probably end up in the final plan as like an option. We can either do a one-story community center or have a library on top.
Yeah, but since I live in Maryland, I looked at the three, because there are three options, I
Yeah.
think, all of them looked really, really nice. So
Yeah.
really, really good job. I guess kind of a follow-up question, and maybe you can't talk about it, given that it's coming up for a vote in a couple of weeks, but has there been any further talk about continuing the Northgate Library during?
There is in the current plan, there is a space for the library. My understanding of kind of how it's in the proposal is that the city has kind of like the first right of refusal
Mhm,
to the space, should we want to have a library there.
okay,
We can. I think what they're proposing is like basically an empty building that we would then need to, kind of improve to make it usable for library space. I think there's a conversation to be had around that and being the city, and I believe they were proposing it as a 10-year lease.
mhm,
So, there's pros and cons to the city being dependent upon a private developer for one of our amenities, and I think from my perspective, should we find an opportunity to have it on city property, that would be preferable. Just we're gonna be investing money in it, better to make sure we're gonna be able to stay there in the long term.
that's fair. Okay, well, that's good, nice to know.
No, I have a second.
Yeah, sorry, Catherine.
When this was, iterations of all these new libraries, it was. There were three options,
Mhm.
right? The Boyle. Boyd. The B Street and Terralinda. So
With
with,
Carnegie, well, so there were three options downtown and there were another few options in Terralinda. So we had three options here, a few options in Terralinda. And
three
then
options, Terralinda.
the one that Nolan Tam did,
Yeah,
yeah.
oh, but
When
it was
Nolan
the,
Tam did that, their recommendation was I think the future of the Northgate property was a lot less clear.
Oh,
So the
yeah.
specific recommendation there was take over a large retail space in the existing mall. And I think part of the justification behind that was it was cost effective. And that any sort of improvement on a city facility would be cost prohibitive, given the age of the Terralinda Community Center. And that we don't really have any other options up there.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I was,
Yeah.
I'm confused about, because I thought that if we were gonna do this, then we weren't gonna do Terra Linda. Was that not correct? Because of the
Well-
budget wise, I remember it saying like, we can only do one or the other, and then when the pop-up happened, it was like, well, that just helped everyone kind of figure it out, you know, like,
yeah,
at that time.
the wording of the ballot measure is that that money must be used for a library and community center at Albert Park. It can also be used for branch library expansions.
got it, okay.
So I think it's gonna depend a little bit on kind of the receipts of the tax and the costs of the different options, but it does allow for us to spend the tax money on branch libraries should that make sense. So there's a whole lot of planning and
Yeah.
work that will, if it passes, that we'll need to do to figure out, yeah, what exactly does the future look like, given this revenue, so now that, you know, and I think when that was done, we didn't have any revenue
Right,
sources for
yeah.
this, right? So it was like, we didn't know if or when one was gonna present itself, so,
Right,
yeah.
And
Kind of
then
a whole new world.
and then
if
the
it
pop-up
passes.
happened at the end, it was just
Yeah.
worked it out.
Yeah,
Okay,
and that
curious.
worked out, so,
Okay. Thanks.
yeah, a lot of,
So you would
things
have a
to
recreation program in the Terra Linda, that new development, and keep the old one with the
No.
pool. Oh,
No, we would just renovate the community center,
uh-huh.
is what we're looking at,
Okay.
yeah.
Cause
We wouldn't,
there's a community center at the pool right now.
No, I
Yeah, yeah.
know, and all the classes and,
Yeah.
you know, camps, yeah, no, I know, but.
a heavily utilized community center that's quite old and
Yeah.
small and,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, okay, I was thinking that you would do
no,
library.
oh, no.
and-
We're gonna take
in
another,
that same Northgate.
oh,
community.
no,
Okay,
this would all be at the Terralinda Community Center.
okay, perfect, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we actually wouldn't have any presence in the Northgate
Okay,
facility.
okay.
I think there's a lot of benefits if we can, if it's something we can afford. To maintaining those on city-owned property.
Yeah, okay. Sense.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on right now, hopefully more to come. In next year,
Your job is busy.
maybe.
Okay, well, I'll move on to item number 6, reports on any meetings, conferences, seminars attended by board members. All right. Okay, well then, I will move to adjourn the meeting. Time is 6:47.
Great.
6:46, pretty good. Thanks, everybody.